alaikum, dear students. Let's continue our topic Deep Waters, written by William Douglas. We are now in the middle of the page number 27. Open your books there and let's start. I crossed to, it's the middle of the page, you see. I crossed to oblivion and the curtain of life fell. Now you see how he was just dropped by that, pushed by that boy, strong boy, a tough boy in that pool, and he struggled to come out. And after that, he felt across to oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. Means as soon as I died, my life's chapter ended. Means he was almost he died. The next I remember I was lying on my stomach beside the pool. Next he found that he is lying on his stomach beside the pool, means by the side of the pool, near the pool, means out of the pool now he was, but he was vomiting because he has just swallowed a lot of water. The chap that threw me in was saying, but I was only fooling that chap, that boy who had pushed him. Now he was repenting. He was saying, I was only fooling, means I was just making fun of you. I was just kidding. Someone said among the crowd, maybe the people, those who have gathered there, someone among them said, the kid nearly died. Nearly he was drowned. Means somehow they have managed to take him out, just rescue him, and that's why he is now lying on by the side of the pool. Be all right now. Okay, be all right. Let's carry him to the locker room. There is some locker room there. So let's carry him there so he can stay for some time, for a while there. Several hours later, I walked home. Our author, William this Douglas says, well, after some time I remained there. I walked home several hours later. I was weak and trembling because of the fear, He has undergone that fear of drowning. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. Now at home he shook, he trembled, he cried. He remained, he lay on the bed, on my bed, he remained there. I couldn't eat that night because of the fear. For days, a haunting fear that was in a heart. For days, for many days, a haunting fear means moving, evocative, or bringing strong feelings, strong images of fear that came to me again, and so because of that I trembled. And the slightest exertion upset me. If he did exert something a bit, slightest, that upset me. He became very worried, making me wobbly in the knees. He could not move. He moved unsteadily. His knees ached. His knees, so wobble means to move unsteadily in the knees, and sick to my stomach, and he felt a bit nauseating. He felt a bit vomiting because of that, because of the fear. He has undergone trauma. Okay. Then I never went back to the pool. So since that time he faced this trauma, he never went back to the pool. I feared water. He was already under the fear of water. He was scared of water. He was now again he faced again such a thing came to his life, so he feared water again. I avoided it whenever I could, means to avoid water. Whenever he has got the chance to come closer to the water, so he avoided it. Evaded it. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades. Cascades means small waterfalls. In USA, there are many waterfalls, famous waterfalls. So when he came to know about them, I wanted to get into them. because waterfalls are there coming from at some height, and at the bottom they are just calm. So he decided, let me go and try there. And whenever I did, whether I was wading the Triton or bumping a river that had seized me in the pool would come back. Means these are some famous these waterfalls of USA, like that Triton or bumping river or warm lake of the Goat Rocks. So once he went there, he was wading. Wading means to walking through the water. The terror that had means he was not simply he was not swimming, simply walking through water. The terror the terror that had seized me, caught me in the pool would come back. That terror he had experienced in the pool, that would come again back to him. It would take possession of me completely. Means this fear, it means the fear would possess me completely. I am overpowered, I am overcome by this fear complete. My legs would become paralyzed, means unable to move. His legs are unable to move, as if the paralysis has set in. I see horror would grab my heart. I see horror means my heart is frozen by fear. Now, grab means to catch my heart. This fear would catch my heart. This handicap stayed with me as the years rolled by. Rolled by means passed by. The years passed by, but this weakness, this fear of water, that stayed with me, that stayed with this William Douglas. In canoes on mine, mine lakes, mine is an area in USA, and there are people go there for canoeing a type of a boating. A lake man likes fishing for landlocked salmon, a kind of fish like trout. And whenever he went there in for canoeing, salmon. Bass fishing in New Hampshire is another area, another district there in USA, and there is a particular type of fish, bass, called bass, and he would go there for fishing for that purpose. Trout fishing on the Deschutes Sand Meteolas in Oregon area. These are some water bodies where one can go for trout fishing and such other fishing. So, fishing for salmon on the Columbia. In Columbia side, there are fishing of salmon type of fish, as already we told you. At Bumping Lake in the Cascades, or I went to Bumping Lake in the Cascades, that small waterfalls. Wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed. Means again, I am in the group of that fear, haunting fear. That fear that's bringing strong feelings of fear. Means wherever went, the strong feelings of fear, or they are just coming to me, followed me. It ruined my fishing trips. Means he would go for the fishing trips, but that fear that occurred to him again and again, and once he went near the water, he felt a lot of scared and lot of fear there. So his trips were just spoiled. It ruined my fishing trips, deprived me of the joy of canoeing, boating, and swimming. These are some hobbies the people would do in USA, and but his all these hobbies were just spoiled by this fear. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear, but it held me firmly in its grip. I used to every way I knew to overcome this fear, to just get rid of this fear, but it held me firmly. As much as he did to get rid of it, it was caught. He was caught very firmly by this fear, again firmly, strongly. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. I went to pool and practiced 5 days a week, an hour each day. And it was finally he decided on the 1st October he decided to get an instructor. Let me be under the let me have an instructor so that I can learn to swim and get rid of this fear as well, because all alone he tried all these things and he failed. He couldn't do anything and learn to swim so that he can learn. I went to a pool and practiced there in 5 days a week. In 5 days a week he would practice there. He went to a pool there, an hour each day, every day 1 hour, 5 days every week. The instructor put a belt around me. He put a belt around, a rope attached to the belt went through a pulley, and there was that belt was attached to a rope, and that rope was passing through the pulley that ran on an overhead cable. There was a overhead cable, means just for beginners, for those who want to learn first time swim. They have they are they practice in those pools where there are the overhead cable, and that overhead cable is attached with the person through a rope that passes through the pulley, so that if there is, he can't drown. He held on to the end of the rope, but that rope was in the hand of the instructor, and we went back and forth across the pool. He would swim back and forth again and again, and that rope was in the hand of that instructor, so there was no chance of getting drowned. On each trip across the pool, a bit of the panic seized me. He was caught by that panic. He was a bit panicky. He was feeling a bit fear every bit whenever he tried to cross that pool. Then each time, uh, each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope, and I went under, because there was a tight cable in his hand and he would swim above the water. Now he was relaxing that cable, his hold a bit, and he was going underwater a bit, and then instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under. Some of the old terror returned. Once he relaxed it, he went under the water, and again that fear came back to me, and my legs froze, and because of the fear, his legs. It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. Now it was a bit relaxing. The tension was now releasing a bit after 3 months. It took 3 months for him to get released from that tension of the water, that fear. Then he taught me to put my face underwater and exhale. Now this was by the instructions of that instructor, that he should put his mouth or face underwater for some time and then exhale, breathe out air, but when underwater, and to raise my nose and inhale. Now raise his nose or face out of water and inhale, take air in, inhale, breathe in. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times. So this was an exercise to put his mouth underwater and exhale air, or breathe out. And once he was out of his face, took his face out of water, and then inhale or take the air in, breathe in. So hundreds of times he repeated this exercise. Bit by bit, slowly, I shed part of the panic that seized me. He began to now leave, get rid of, shed part of the panic that he was under, the panic that fear seized me when my head went underwater. Whenever he put his face underwater or head underwater, there was a bit panic would return to him. But now he began to shed it because of hundreds of times he practiced it, and so it was now leaving this panic, this fear, leaving him bit by bit. Next, he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. This was one more exercise to kick the things to make your legs strong. For swimming, one should have strong legs. So this was another practice he would do. For weeks, I did just that. For weeks, he practiced that. At first, my legs refused to work. First, we was as if he was paralyzed. He already told you that he was, so his legs refused to work. But they gradually relaxed with the passage of time. They gradually, slowly and surely relaxed his legs, and finally I could command them. I could order them with my legs so that they can obey my order and they can keep the things and they can become the most strong. Thus, piece by piece, slowly, bit by bit, he built a swimmer. Means the author is now becoming a swimmer. He is being built a swimmer by that instructor, piece by piece, slowly and surely. And when he had perfected each piece, my instructor, when he had perfected each piece, means so many exercises were given. His legs have to be made strong, his other exercises have to be performed so that the other things would become strong, so that he can become a perfect swimmer. So perfect each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole, because he was now he did different exercise in isolated. Now put them all these things in together so that he can now become a swimmer in integrated whole. In April, he said, "Now you can swim." Means now you are perfect. You can swim. Dive off and swim the length of the pool. Now go across the pool from one side to the another. Now you can dive and you can swim. Crawl stroke. Crawl stroke means this is a type of swimming. There are different types of swimming. One is called the crawl stroke, backstroke, or so many things are there. I did. The instructor was finished. So means I did it. So the need of the instructor was one, but I was not finished. Means my work is yet to be completed. I still wondered if I would be terror stricken when I was alone in the pool. Now this was I was wondered. I was surprised if that terror I would be terror stricken means if the same terror would come back, fear would come back when I was alone in the pool. This was the big question for me. Once I am away in the pool without my instructor, with anybody else, would this fear come back again or not? I tried it. Now all alone. I swam the length of up and down, length of that pool, up and down. I swam, I went and came back to and fro. Tiny vestiges of the this tiny vestiges of fear would come, vestiges of the old terror would return in small bits. Vestiges of the old terror that would return to me, trying to scare me, trying to threaten me, or yeah. Well, here is to you. Look, and oh, I would go for another length of the pool means, but I just resisted that fear. I would not let it overcome me, and so I said, and off I did. I would go for another length of the pool means again I swam across. This went on until July. My practice, my doing all these things went on until July. But I was still not satisfied. I was not completely satisfied about my this affair. I was not sure that all the terror had left. If the terror is completely that has left me, and I am without fear, without that scare. So I went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. There was another lake called Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. So I went there, dived off a dock at Trix Island, and swam 2 miles across the lake to stamp Stamp Act Island. This there in New Hampshire. There is a Wentworth. There I went, and there I did my practice. I dived off, means I dived to swim across that Triggs Island and swam 2 miles across the lake to Swamp Act Island. Means this is a particular area there where I practiced. I swam the crawl or breaststroke are there, crawling is there. These are the types of the swimming. So I did that. Side stroke, breaststroke, butterfly swim. This is one more thing, and backstroke. Only once did the terror return. The whole in this during the whole procedures, all these different kinds of exercise, the different types of swimming I did there. So all this while, only once the terror returned me. When I was in the middle of the lake, that time I put my face under and saw and saw nothing but bottomless water. In the middle of the lake I put my head face under the water, and there was nothing. Darkness was all around me, bottomless water. The old At that time, perhaps this came back. The old sensation returned in miniature, in a small piece, a bit. I was scared. Sensation, old sensation. I laughed and said, but I laughed and said, "Well, Mr. Tao, what do you think you can do to me? Means you can do nothing to me. You terrified me so much, but no more. I come under your influence." Fled and swam on, means this fear just fled from me, and I swam on, and I continued. Yet I had residual doubts are there. I have some residual doubts, means remaining after the greater part is gone, left over. Simply you can say. Yet I had residual doubts, means leftover doubts. Some doubts are yet to be resolved. They are there. Residual doubts are there, and those are left with me, left over. At my first opportunity, I hurried west. Hurriedly, very quickly, I went towards west. Went up the Titan to Conard Meadows. These are some particular places for swimming in USA. Titan to Conard Meadows. Up the Conard Creek trail to Mead Glacier, then to the Conard Creek trail, then to Mead Glacier. These are some places, some particular place in USA where one can have these water bodies or natural water bodies where one can go in for swimming and doing all this, and camped in the high meadows by the side of the warm lake. By the warm lake, by the side of the warm lake, there is a meadow. There I camped. There I stood for some time. Maybe he pitched his tent there so that he can do the practice there in that in the mid glacier. Okay. The next morning, I stooped, dived into the lake. I stooped and dived into the lake and swam across to the other shore and back to the other shore, and then back I returned and swam across. Back I came, just as Douglas Crippen used to do. I shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo. I had conquered my fear of water. This time I felt that I have conquered my fear of water. I am no more under the fear. I am no more scared. I have conquered. I am victorious. So I shouted with joy there. Well, I have conquered you. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stock terror and conquered it can appreciate. Now the experience had deep meaning for me, as only those who have known the stock terror that is going to apparent and conquered it can appreciate me. Those who have conquered such a terror and they can appreciate, they can know my no position. In that there is peace. well, in that there is peace, there is terror only in the fear of death. It's a very important thing. Once a person dies, so he is under peace. He's feeling peaceful. There is only one who has the fear of death. Who fears death means there is the terror. As Roosevelt knew, uh, this was said by Roosevelt knew when he said, Roosevelt, the president of USA, he once said, all we have to fear is fear itself. Only we have to fear from fear. This is said by the fear. Because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. Now our author has experienced this sensation of dying when he was in the pool all alone. He pushed by that boy, and he once, twice, and thrice tried to come back to the surface, but he couldn't. So at last he felt that as if he would die, and he felt a peace at heart, and the terror that fear of it can produce. And he had experienced that terror, that fear it can produce such an experience. That means he has experienced everything. It will the will to live somehow grew in intensity. The will to live somehow grew in intensity means a will power to live longer, to be alive, that grew in him the intensity. At last, I felt released, relaxed, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear, because all the time he was he feared, he felt the scare and the fear. When there was the fear of water, the scare of the water deep. Now he is released from this fear. Now he can go anywhere. He could move above the peaks and brush aside the, and climb the trails and all that. So now no more he is under the fears. This is the whole story says how he conquered the fear. He was overwhelmed or overcome by this fear sometimes in his childhood, but he felt he worked hard to get rid of this. With this, we concluded the topic Deep Water by Douglas Water. We will move on in the next lesson. Okay, till then, goodbye. Khuda Hafiz.